Hello everyone, this is Pon Vasant. I work as a data journalist with The Hindu. On Monday, Tamil Nadu witnessed what many had thought of as an outlandish outcome in the state's politics. Actor C. Joseph Vijay, who had launched his Tamilaga Vetri Kalagam party only 2 years back in 2024, won the elections and pushed the two Dravidian majors, the DMK and the AADMK, to a distant second and third positions. However, his party won only 108 seats and fell short of the 118 seats that is required as the majority, as a simple majority for the party to form the government. Since the election results came out, the Congress party has extended its support to the TVK, but they have only 5 MLAs and therefore the TVK plus Congress combined still fall short of the required majority. If Vijay's entry into politics and his rapid ascent looked like scenes straight out of a movie, the scenes unfolding since the election results came out are no less dramatic. Many expected Governor Rajendra Arlekar to invite TVK as the single largest party to first form the government and prove their majority in the assembly within a stipulated time. But the governor has not decided to do that. And this has surprised many, and many have criticized him for not doing so as well. To understand whether the governor's approach is right, in the legal and historical context, we have with us K. Venkataramanan, or KV as we call him. He is a former senior member of the Hindu's editorial board who has contributed extensively in covering and understanding legal developments. He identifies himself as a retired person on social media, but he still remains our go-to guy for obtaining any clarity on any legal developments, and that is what we are going to do today as well. Thanks for joining us, KV. KV, so before we dive in deeper, let us get the most pressing question that everyone has in their mind. The governor issued a statement today. The statement that came out from Lok Bhavan said the governor has conveyed to Vijay that he has not established the majority that is required to form the government. In effect, what he has said is he is not going to invite him at the moment. So when you read that statement, what was your immediate reaction? What did you think of it?
My immediate reaction was that this should not have been the end of the matter. Even though the governor had, some legitimate concern about whether he actually had the numbers to constitute a majority, the final decision could have been left to the legislature. It's particularly because there is no other claimant. Nobody else has a pre-poll alliance or a post-poll alliance as yet. And in the absence of any other claim, he could have just appointed him on the principle that he is the single largest party, not on the basis of his own claim with a letter of support from the Congress. Perhaps that was what was running in the governor's mind. Once you claim that you are going to form a coalition with my party men and members of another party, he had probably thought of looking into how many there are and finding that there were 6 or 7 short. He decided not to, invite him. But I suppose that should not have been the end. The matter should not have ended there. He should have simply appointed him and given him an opportunity to demonstrate majority or the lack of it on the floor of the House. That was the logical thing to do.
Right. So from what you're saying, I'm getting an impression that the option that he has exercised now is perhaps not the right thing that he could have done at this moment, and he could have given Vijay an opportunity to prove the majority in the legislature. Now, having said that, what are the options that are available before governors whenever such a situation comes up, when they are falling short of a majority and there is a single largest party?
Okay. See, the first thing to be noted is that the Constitution doesn't prescribe either a procedure or any guidance on who should be appointed.
When you say, I wanted to clarify here itself, sir. You had mentioned this in your post on social media, which was read by many also, that the Constitution is silent on this. Like,
Yes.
say, to give a different example, the Constitution, with respect to granting of assent to the bills, it says as soon as possible, which is very loosely defined, which led to a lot of different interpretations. So, in this particular situation, is the Constitution absolutely silent on what the discretionary powers of the governors are, Or does it say something very broad and
No, it does not say anything. It merely says that the chief minister shall be appointed by the governor.
oh, that's all? Okay,
That's all.
okay, okay.
And along with other ministers on the advice of the chief minister.
So now let us get into what are the options. Yeah, what are the options?
Being a Westminster type of government, it presumes that the person with an elected majority will be invited to form the government. So, in the absence of a majority after a general election, we follow conventions. Even though we are largely based on the British model, the situation is slightly different there. There when the general election throws up a hung legislature, the monarch actually allows the incumbent prime minister the first opportunity to form a government or a coalition. Here we do not have it because once the election is completed, we feel that, and when the ruling party loses the election, it is presumed that they have lost the legitimacy or the mandate of the people and they do not stake a claim. This has happened in the past. I will come to those examples later. And the second, at the next stage, the governor is now vested with a responsibility. It's more than a discretion, it's a responsibility to ensure that the newly constituted house is able to throw up a government that will work. It is where the governor's scope for discretion is quite wide. Even though it is not unlimited, it is quite wide. The discretion is to first identify a person who, in his opinion, is in a position to enjoy the majority of the house. This, once again, there is no guidance on it, but this is based on the political intuition and the political realities of the day. This function is overtly political in the governor's hands. What the constitution envisages is that it is the satisfaction of the governor. It is not, it can be objectively determined in terms of numbers, or in the absence of numbers, there should be some other criteria. And this is the only criteria is that should be subjective satisfaction, only criteria. So, what has been traditionally followed is that they follow a sequence. One is if no individual party has the majority, they have to look for a pre-poll alliance. If that alliance is absent or if it does not have a majority, it should invite the single largest party claiming the support of other members. Why I emphasize this word claiming the support of other members is the Sarkaria Commission recommendations, it set out the sequence in which the governor has to function. It is a recommendation, no doubt. The sequence was that the pre-poll alliance is the first and second is the single larger party claiming to have the support of some members. This presumes that the party which is short of a majority will produce a list of members or other parties who are willing to join it in a coalition. So that is the second thing. And third, of course, is a post-poll coalition in which all the partners join the government. And the fourth is one in which some parties join or some parties give outside support. This is the M.M. Punchi Commission, which is another commission constituted to examine center-state relations. It endorses the set of recommendations. It also says that there should be guidelines on how this should be, operationalized.
But those guidelines have never been brought into the constitution or
anywhere. Yes, it has never been brought into the constitution.
Right. But has the Supreme Court upheld or leaned in favor of any of these recommendations in any of the cases in the past?
See, many of these cases throw up situations in which the court is has intervened also. But what happens is many of them are resolved in an ad hoc manner. That is, they order a flow test or they order a composite flow test in one case, and they reduce the time given by the governor to one chief minister. He was given 15 days, that's too much. The flow test should happen tomorrow. That was what the Supreme Court said in Karnataka case in 2018. The gist of it is that there is no a specific set of guidelines that can govern this, and even the courts have given maximum, weightage to the governor's satisfaction. There is, as of now, there is no judgment that sets aside the governor's discretion in this matter, even though an slightly related subject, the dissolution of the Bihar Assembly in 2005, that was set aside by the Supreme Court. But that was another example to which we should come later.
Like, okay, so if I understand you correctly, KV, there were four options broadly if no party secured the majority on their own. Number one, pre-poll alliance. Number two is that single largest party. Number three, a post-poll alliance where all the parties are openly endorsing the other party joining the government. And the fourth is that some parties are joining the government, some parties could be giving their support from outside. So now here the scenario we have is the option number two, that is the single largest party. So in this order of sequence, would it be right to say that the governor should have invited Vijay first to form the government and prove his strength on the floor of the assembly?
Yes, the governor ought to have done it. It's very simple, really. When Vijay came and met him, he was the only claimant. The governor did not have any scope to ascertain whether somebody else was planning to form a government. What had happened in the Yediyurappa case in 2018 was that the Congress and JDS were in talks to form a coalition. So the governor anyway used his discretion and invited Yediyurappa with 104 members in a 225 member house as the single largest party and gave him 2 weeks. The situation was resolved only by advancing the floor test, but it was not set aside. The appointment of the leader of the single largest party stood.
Okay, okay, okay. But in your post, you had also mentioned the dilemma that the governor has to resolve. If I am explaining that correctly, if I am favoring one party, the single largest party, I am probably giving room for some sort of horse trading or something to happen because, okay, they are likely to form the government and prove their majority, so some MLAs from other formations could join them. But at the same time, if there is more room given or if the governor is indecisive, then there is, as you rightly pointed out, his responsibility to ensure that a government is formed. That is sort of being abdicated, right? So, where should the governor strike this balance? Would you give him some leeway in the way he has acted right now, considering these two different scenarios?
See, the leeway that we can give him is the governor was probably right in asking for additional letters of support. Because we should remember that Vijay specifically went with him with a list of members supporting him that included 5 people from the Congress. So it's presumed that he was pitching for a coalition. So the governor probably wanted to examine how the addition of a mayor, 5 members, will enable you to reach 180. That is it. But he at that time he probably thought he will take a few more days to get more support or letters of support. But it turns out that it was the idea was not to give him time to increase his support base, but it was actually time to the other parties to cobble together a coalition. That is what makes this decision questionable. Regarding the possibility of horse trading, before the anti-defection law, which came into force only in 1986, there was a situation in which the person who is invited to form a government had a first mover advantage. So somebody is short of 10 seats if he is immediately appointed the governor. In the week or 10 days that he gets to prove his majority, it can definitely, utilize the power of being the CM to grant ministries, to confer benefits on MLAs who are probably willing to join them. That, of course, it will not lead to that. Now, even now, there are many MLAs who are now joining the ruling party as soon after the election, opposition members. But the speaker being a member of the ruling party, it is very difficult to get them disqualified. So the possibility, the inviting someone prematurely or hastily may also lead to possibilities of horse trading or inducements to support the government. Delaying the formation of the government is also, similarly placed. It can also lead to, the inducements being used or horse trading to be resorted.
Which is what seems to be happening here now, where the
Exactly.
governor, yes. Now let us, like, hypothetically, let us consider that scenario. We are hearing reports that the DMK and AIDMK, the two parties that had been arch rivals for the last 50 years, are in talks to come together to form a government. No leader from either of the parties have come on record to say so, but there are strong rumors going around. It could be a possibility or it may not be. Even if the governor were to think that, okay, probably I should give room for, because as you rightly pointed out, any two political formations coming together in this situation can form a government. So, should I wait and watch? Could have been his thought process. But even if that were to be considered, ADMK has 47 seats, if I'm not wrong. DMK has 59 seats. That adds up to only 106, which is lesser than what Vijay has got by himself. And they may also not be able to prove their majority. So, in such a situation, it makes the governor's decision even more questionable, isn't it?
Definitely. Even otherwise, even if you had decided to look beyond Vijay, that should have been preceded by a simple test. Even if he was of the opinion that he will be unable to prove his majority, he could have let that play out in the House itself. After all, he loses nothing. The real political gain that the other parties have is that nobody else has been appointed, which gives them time to forge coalitions, to make compromises, to manipulate the mandate. In other words,
As you rightly pointed out, no other party has take claim to form the government. Shouldn't that be the reason for the governor to invite Vijay first again?
exactly, that itself was a simple criterion on which he could have acted, but he didn't do it.
He didn't do it. Now, what are the, let's say, what are the options available before Vijay? Like, if he goes to the court, should he go to the Supreme Court first? And if he goes to the Supreme Court, what are the legal precedences we have? Many people are now referring to SR Bommai case. And so, what can you list some of the?
Yeah, see, there is no comprehensive single case on what's to be done. We have to glean principles out of various judgments. You can take the SR Bommai case, for example, which is uh, primarily about Article 356, but it also deals with a situation in which a chief minister loses majority in the House or is seen as having lost majority, and there is a doubt about his whether he can continue. The floor test is the court's preferred mode of resolving this matter. It says the matter should not be decided in Raj Bhavan, but it should be decided, on the floor of the House. That's a fine principle, except that it may not be directly applicable here for two reasons. One is that the judgment itself says our observations are limited to a situation in which an incumbent chief minister has lost majority. There, the governor should not, usually it happens when a party is split and a dissident group comes out and meets the governor and says, we are not supporting this government. There, the governor should not do a head count. So the idea that the floor test is determinative of the majority is basically positioned against the other option of the MLAs being paraded before the governor, doing a head count. Exactly, that's what it says. And the second point about it is that it is not directly relevant to the present situation at all, because this is an area in which is governed by the governor's discretion and subjective satisfaction. Even my position is that even if he is subjectively satisfied that he is short of a majority, he can still objectively, ascertain that by a floor test. That is the simplest way of doing it, which is what several presidents have done. I will give you other precedents. See, when 1989, the Congress emerged as single largest party, Rajiv Gandhi was invited to form the government. He had 189 members in the Lok Sabha. He declined to form a government, saying that he would sit in the opposition. Because at that time, the idea was that it was a mandate against the Congress, so I will not do it. So, VP Singh was supported by both the left, BJP and the left parties, and he managed to form. In 1996, again, this happened. There was a hung house, and Vajpayee was given the first opportunity as the single largest party. No other consideration. Objectively, he had no majority. Then Vajpayee, unlike Rajiv Gandhi, Vajpayee accepted it and lost within a few days. The government lasted only a few days. So, the precedent has been set as far as inviting the single largest party is concerned. The scope for this court intervening is very limited, because Article 361 prevents or precludes the court from questioning on any constitutional action of the governor or the president. But there are other judgments which say that when there is a decision tainted by malafide, the court can look into it, examine it, without making the governor or a party to the proceeding. That principle emerges in Rameshwar Prasad, which was another relevant case here. The 2005 election in Bihar threw up a hung assembly, and no party was willing to form a government. So all of them were short of it. Uh, after a few days, the governor decided that nobody can form a government. The assembly was placed under suspended animation. After a few months, there was, I think 3 months or so, there was a move by the BJP and Nitish Kumar to come together and form a government. The UPA was the government was in power then. So, in order to preclude the emergence of a post-poll coalition between BJP and Nitish Kumar's party, the governor sent a report to the center that horse trading is happening and attempts are made to form a government by illegal means. So, acting on that, the assembly was fully dissolved. See, what the Supreme Court did in that case was it set aside the dissolution of the assembly. It did not order status quo ante. Because at that time, see, by the time the court hearing was over, the election commission had prepared for the next election and the election was allowed to go on. They did not interfere with it. But the principle was that the governor ought not to have recommended dissolution without exploring the possibility of a government emerging from within the existing house. Because at that time, no one had actually formed a government.
And I think there is a slight difference between the two scenarios also. So there you mentioned that nobody first staked claim to form the government, which is not the case here. Here, TVK has clearly staked claim as the single largest party. Right.
Yes.
Right.
See, my emphasis in this case will be on the duty of the governor to make efforts to form a government out of the existing composition of the house. Without making that. In this case, when somebody is coming forward, even though he may fall short of a majority mark, there is still scope for ascertaining whether he has. And once the single largest party is out of the way, let us presume that he doesn't prove his majority, then the situation opens up for other players to think of post-poll coalitions. Yes, sir. It is this option that the governor has precluded by merely saying that he is not going to invite him.
Invite him, right. So now if he goes to the court, can the court direct the governor to invite and show the majority, or if I'm not wrong, as it did in Yediyurappa case, to set a deadline by when the floor test should be taken? Is that a possible outcome?
See, both possibilities are there. See, primarily, the first argument of the center will be that the governor's action cannot be questioned, and that this is an area governed by his subjective satisfaction and his discretion. So it's very difficult to get past that argument in the first place. Secondly, if even in some cases, the Supreme Court brushes aside technical objections and goes to the heart of the matter, like it did in the Yediyurappa case. They didn't look into whether all these things are right. Or is it, how are you giving 15 days to a person who is so short? Is this an invitation to horse trading? We will just advance it by have the floor test tomorrow and we'll finish it off. That was one way of doing it. It is entirely possible that they will make a suggestion to the union or to the governor that why don't you give him an opportunity, then you can decide further course of action. That may even happen. That is a possibility. Which the significant part of all these things is many of these are ad hoc rulings. It is not a systematic, manner in which the constitutional law behind it is discussed and a certain jurisprudence is evolved in the matter. Most of the time, these are decided by ad hoc interim orders.
Right. Since you mentioned the Yediyurappa case, so earlier we were discussing about the possible concern that Tamil Nadu governor would have had that by inviting Vijay, the opportunity could open up for some sort of horse trading could happen. Right. If he wanted to preempt that, he could have set a tighter deadline as well, isn't it? Like
exactly, the only safeguard against that is to have a short deadline. One other principle emerges from the Bihar case, the Rameshwar Prasad case, there the court questioned the governor's idea that illegal means are being adopted to form a government. He said this is not for the governor to decide. This is a vague thing. They said it is normal for political parties to conduct negotiations among themselves and come up with, formulations to run the government. So this should not be seen as, something illegal. So the governor's allegation is vague. In his report to the center that there will be illegal means adopted to form a government is not tenable at all. So you can even say that the apprehension of horse trading should not be overstretched. It is a possibility, but it is not a possibility that will destroy the entire process. You can have safeguards against it by having a tight deadline. Yes.
Can we just perhaps two last questions before we wind this up? One slightly political, since you mentioned about the 1989 and 1996 scenario, where the president invited the single largest party to form the government, but in one case, Rajiv Gandhi declined to do so, and in Vajpayee's case, he took the offer but failed to prove the majority. In this case, would it have been the morally right thing for the two Dravidian parties to put out a statement that we accept this verdict and we would like to sit in the opposition? That way, they are in a way informing publicly that they are not going to stake the claim. Should they have done that?
The DMK has done it already. His first, Stalin's first reaction was that no, we will sit in the opposition. As far as I know, no effort was made to form a government under the DMK. And even there is, until today or yesterday when there was some rumor, there was no hint of even the ADMK harboring such a thought. I am not sure where the thought comes from. Is it at the behest of the center? The one possible political, explanation for everything is that the mischief lies in the fact that Vijay's letter contained the Congress's name. The moment the Congress was included as a possible coalition partner, it was possibly a red flag.
And they also made it as a condition that the TVK should never ally with either the NDA or any other parties that are part of the NDA coalition.
Yes, and also, I thought it was not very wise for them to have said this is an alliance for the next Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, and even local body polls. This was trying to seal the alliance for all time to come. And whether it was right or not, we don't know.
Other options as well, because after all, TVK is a new party and everybody is eagerly waiting to see how they are going to do the governance. I mean, provided the governor invites them to form the party. But form the.
No, in any case, even if you can attribute, the letter mentioning only one coalition partner, the Congress, and not others who are likely to support, there it may be some inexperience on the part of the TVK. I think the governor should not punish the party for only for this, merely because the single largest party said we want to form a coalition. The governor should not treat it as a coalition in the making and resultantly not having the numbers to do that. He could have, even without reference to the letter, he could have invited him as the single largest party.
And also, I think interestingly, I don't know if it adds to our argument, CPM has issued a statement today urging the governor to invite Vijay as the single largest party to form the government and let him prove his strength in the legislature.
I think that will be the right course of action, because even for those who harbor ambitions of putting together or cobbling together a coalition later, it will be morally more appealing if the Vijay factor is out of the way. If you can have a better claim if the single largest party is out of the picture, but here they are out of the picture without an opportunity.
Now, let us hope that better sense prevails, and if the situation emerges that the governor invites TVK to form the government and proves his majority on the floor of the assembly, can you explain to our viewers how the floor test will happen? Who will get elected as pro tem speaker from which party? And we also have this situation where Vijay has won from two constituencies. How will that get counted? Realistically speaking, and what are the possibilities that some parties can abstain from attending the session so that the required majority number itself comes down. So can you explain in detail how the scenario would play out actually on the day of the vote?
See, first, the swearing in of all the members should take place, and oath is administered by a speaker pro tem. The governor usually appoints the senior most member of the house as the pro tem speaker, and it. Yes, I think Sengotain is the most senior in this particular house. They're not. See, only the Modi regime modified this by having a senior BJP member or not the actual senior most member. That happened in the Lok Sabha. In the Lok Sabha after the 2019 election or something. But that is immaterial right now because the pro tem speaker will only administer the oath. You should remember that the speaker's election normally precedes the floor test.
So here, so let's get back to the sequence. So first, the pro tem speaker gets appointed by the governor, who will administer the vote for all the elected MLAs, and then what happens?
Then only the floor test is taken up. I don't know. The speaker's election takes place, and then the floor test is taken up. See, the speaker's election will itself indicate if you are elected from 2 seats, you don't get 2 votes. You don't get 2 votes. You get only 1 vote there.
So does that also make the total strength of the house as 233 and not 233 member house?
It's a 233 member house.
So what they need is 117, not 117 is what they need.
Yes, 117 is what they need right now. So, if there is, see, with the one of them presiding over the session, it is reduced to 232. So, there is a possibility of a 116 tie. The speaker has a casting vote, or the presiding officer has a casting vote. So that is allowed. So having your person as the speaker is quite a thing. The second thing to be noted is whether the parties are going to issue a whip, whether everyone is going to be present. Yes, some people may abstain and bring down. If 20 people abstain, the majority comes down to 110 or something.
On their own, they can prove the majority and.
Yes, it's all possible. Various theories are possible, but then motives will be attributed to the absentees. Whether it was a tactical absence or whether they were actually indisposed, all these questions will arise.
Thank you so much, KV. I think we can all agree, and I don't think anyone in Tamil Nadu wants another election or the in any time soon. So, as you have rightly explained, the governor should invite the single largest party. Perhaps that is the right thing to do, at least to get that out of the way, even if he fails to prove the floor test, so that other possibilities, if really they have to emerge, let them emerge organically. Let's hope that better sense prevails. Thank you so much for explaining all these issues in such nice detail. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.